Igor Shafarovich is a Russian national and a dissident. His writings on socialism and socialism as the instrument of the destruction of the individuality is based upon a very intimate living with and under the consciousness of socialism. In other words, it is no longer theory or idealism. It is the observation and its practical application. He noted the inevitable drift toward death in his article, Socialism in Our Past and Future. He said that the attempt to realize the socialist ideal through equality and the destruction of hierarchy, through the destruction of private property, the destruction of religion, and the destruction of the family, is merely the means for the attainment of the basic aim of socialism, the destruction of individuality. Now, this is my observation, but to me, when a mind and a spirit of the caliber of Shafarovich, who ranks right along with Solzhenitsyn in his understanding of this battle of Armageddon, his comment is valuable. And I think you should be familiar with his name. It's spelled S-H-A-F-A-R-E-V-I-C-H. It's like Schaefer or Shafarovich. He then asks, what will be the effect on life of a change in the spiritual atmosphere such that human individuality is destroyed in all its most essential forms? Such a revolution would amount to the destruction of man, at least in the sense that has hitherto been contained in this concept. This is why we think that the death of mankind is the inescapable, logical consequence of socialist ideology. Shafarovich then provides a tremendous insight into the bridge between communism and Satanism. He observes, quote, "The organic connection between socialism and death is subconsciously or half-consciously felt by its followers without in the least frightening them at all. On the contrary, this is what gives the socialist movements their attraction and their motive force," unquote. It is in this sense that socialism becomes a religion of death. This is further illustrated by the fact that, quote, "Religion predicts the end of our world, but only after the attainment of its ultimate aim, which also supplies the meaning of its history. But socialism attributes the end of mankind to some external accident and thus deprives its whole history of any meaning." Psychologists since Freud have noted that there are two basic instincts which drive man, the instinct of life and the instinct of death. The instinct of death Freud called thanatos. One characteristic of instinctual drives is that they function independently of and in a more powerful manner than reason. Since socialism derives its basic motivational drive from the death instinct, this explains, as Shafarovich pointed out, quote, "the inability of socialist ideology to react to the results of experience, or as behaviorists would say, its inability to learn from its failures of the past. It is essential that we understand the relationship between communism and the death instinct. And so I don't want to leave this subject until I have made a few final points on it. Communism perverts Father, Mother, Son, and Holy Spirit. It perverts the path of the seven rays, the attainment of the Christic consciousness through the mastery of the matter plane on the seven rays. It denies God, hence the first commandment, the Father principle, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." The state becomes God. Carl Jung analyzed communism in terms of a religion of this world. Moria has told me that communism is the religion of hatred, hatred at its core, and that it is the cult of death. Communism, the religion of hatred, the cult of death. All of the trappings of the usual religion are there. The parades, the rituals, it has its Bible, it has its manifesto, its doctrine, and its dogma. No one dares go against this doctrine and dogma, or their heads will be chopped off. They will be sent to Siberia. They become the enemies of the state. And thus, you see that communism is really the instrument of the Satanist church. We have the worship of death, the graven images, the images of death, which are forbidden in the commandments, the image of the fallen ones, the idolatry of the fallen ones. They are everywhere in communist countries. Huge pictures of leaders are draped in the major cities and on the walls everywhere. And these are not the focalization of the God flame as the ascended masters, but they are the focalization of the cult of death. You have the tomb of Lenin in Moscow, and the preservation of the body becomes a part of the religion. Day after day, blocks and blocks of people, lines come to pay homage to this body, worshiping the dead heroes in place of the saints, saying that those who are dead, those who have not died in the Lord, are actually alive forevermore, when in fact they are not alive, but they are passing through the judgment, and many of them have already passed through the second death. Now, the most amazing teaching concerning the death instinct, which Mother Mary gave to me as I was contemplating this writing of Igor Shafarovich, has to do with the death instinct. Mother Mary said that the death instinct is only the perversion of the natural instinct toward the ascension. Our sense of the ascension is that we invoke the magnitude of the light of the sun, the magnitude of the light of the I Am Presence, and that which appears to be the self, which is the not self, is translated and absorbed into and becomes wholly that living presence of the Christ self. To the observer, a cloud received him out of their sight. To the observer, the individual is no more because he transcends or accelerates this plane. To the individual, he has become the fullness of the Godhead bodily, the ascended master light body. One has become the incarnate Word in the plane of spirit. Now, the only difference between death and the ascension is the annihilation of the self on this plane without passing through the ritual of the ascension currents or the ritual of the path leading to unification with that white light, that ritual being the lesser self giving way to the greater self step by step. And so, as is always true, there is only a razor's edge, a very fine line between truth and error, and here between life and death. We find that the fallen ones refuse to go through the ritual because the ritual involves bending the knee and confessing the incarnate Word, the Lord Christ. So they say, well, if that's the goal of life, I don't want to make the effort to get it by attainment, so I'll just cancel out on this plane.